Hello. Leaders of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, have once again.
Hello. Sorry, we have technical problems. We will be right back in a minute. Okay.
Hello. Leaders of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, have once again disagreed on the action against military men that overthrew elected governments in three West African countries. This was the outcome of another meeting called by ECOWAS leaders who wanted to compel military juntas in Mali, Guinea, and Burkina Faso to hand over power to an elected government. The ECOWAS bloc had earlier imposed sanctions on the three countries, but that had not changed the position of the military leaders. The leaders expressed concern about the deteriorating political and security situations in those countries. Among those who attended the recent meeting were Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari, whose country is deeply embroiled in deteriorating political and security situations. In his contribution to the meeting, President Buhari urged the bloc to consider the people living in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Guinea, who, he said, were victims of unconstitutional changes of government and its consequences. Meanwhile, in Nigeria, police in the capital have revealed the identity of the man killed and burnt by a Muslim mob over an allegation of blasphemy. The police identified the victim as a 30-year-old local vigilante named Ahmad Usman. According to a police report, Mr. Usman got into an argument with a cleric at the Federal Housing Estate in Lugbe area of the Federal Capital Territory. During the argument, the cleric mobilized a mob of over 200 who grabbed Mr. Usman, killed him, and set him ablaze for blasphemy. The victim was pronounced dead at the hospital. Babajide Sunday, the Commissioner of Police, condemned the indiscriminate resort to jungle justice. We are outright against jungle justice. The law is against it, and adequate sanction will be meted on subscribers of this crude and dastardly art, he said. This killing is coming just a few weeks after a student at the Shehu Shagari College of Education in Sokoto, Deborah Yakubu, was also killed and burnt over the same charge of blasphemy. While we were preparing to come on air, we got a report that many worshippers were killed on Sunday when some gunmen invaded St. Francis Catholic Church or in Ondo State. Some worshippers who were injured were taken to the Federal Medical Center or for treatment. No group has claimed responsibility for the attack. I am Chido Onuma. It's 8:30 a.m. in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada.
I'm Rudolph Okonkwo. It is 11:30 a.m. in New York City.
It is 4:30 p.m. in Nigeria.
And it is 5:30 p.m. in Cape Town, South Africa. Wherever in the world you are joining us, welcome to another edition of 90 Minutes Africa. On our show today, public interest and human rights lawyer Inibehe Effiong joins us to discuss tomorrow's presidential primary of the ruling All Progressive Congress, APC. He will help us to examine the prospects of a third force to challenge the APC and the PDP. Mr. Effiong, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We wanted to have this show on the APC's primaries, which will happen tomorrow and next. But the news that we're getting from our today about the massacre in the church is important. So we start from there. I know we haven't gotten all the details, but what do you feel about that story? coming out of our war in Ondo State.
It is indeed a very unsettling development, a tragedy of indescribable proportion that a country is being assaulted in this manner. Armless, defenseless citizens gruesomely murdered while in the very sacred presence of the church, a worship center, a place that is supposed to be characterized by sobriety, was basically reduced to a slaughterhouse. This is indeed, again, another evidence of governance failure in Nigeria. And as I tweeted a while ago, I have no doubt in my mind, I have made this point repeatedly. Nigeria does not have a president. Nigeria does not have a leader. The country is essentially leaderless at the moment because you cannot have these continuous killings across the country, from the north to the east to the west, and then it is becoming normative. It is becoming a norm. Nobody is taking or made to account or pay a price for this barbarism. I watched the videos and I could not but weep for the country called Nigeria. One wonders what the motive of these killers is.
All right, Chido.
Yeah, I just beyond the extent of the carnage, what do we know in terms of the group? What could be the motivation, the reason behind this kind of attack? We haven't seen attacks like this in the southern parts of the country. I don't know for how long now. What do we know? Do we have any sense of what could be responsible? This politically motivated, or is this a breach of security, or just
Well,
another?
well at the moment, the reports, the information that is available in the public space suggests that the worshippers were attacked by people who were dressed as Fulanis came into the and threw dynamite and then opened fire, killing people at random. It is estimated that not less than 50 worshippers may have been killed. I have personally seen videos of multiple dead bodies scattered all over the church, the Catholic Church. That is what we know at the moment. The governor of the state, Governor Akeredolu, has issued a statement saying that the attackers will be hunted down, which for me is neither here nor there, because whenever the Nigerian government tells you that the killers will be brought to book or will be brought to justice, more often than not, nothing tends to happen. So that is all the information that is available. I understand the corpses of the victims have been taken to the morgue in our war. And although it's actually a state that I have some little connection with, I did my national service in Ondo State, and I know I have passed or have been to Town. It's a relatively quiet community. People are very peaceful, so nothing warrants this barbaric intrusion into the lives of the people. We are hoping that even though these days hope has become a very scarce commodity in Nigeria, that some semblance of governmental president will be brought to. Yeah, at this time, I said, there's clear, there is clear lack of leadership, there is clear lack of accountability in the country, and that explains why this tragedy would take place. And you wonder how this was possible. Imagine for a second what we are talking about. How were the murderers, the terrorists, able to gain access to that church? Which road did they pass through? Which bush did they pass through? Why were they not trapped? Why were they not trapped? What happened to the military checkpoints that leads to that part of the states? So these are the questions. What happened to intelligence gathering? Are security agencies, are they only useful in going after critics of the government and opponents of the government? Is that all that our military is good for? Where is the SSS? Where is the police? So these are the questions that we must ask. Or is this also another indication that truly there is collusion in the security agencies, the armed forces, and the terrorists who are on rampage all over the country? So these are the critical questions that Nigerians are asking. Why is this possible? Why is it possible for this kind of attack to take place? And the killers.
All right. We are having
Nobody apprehended them.
Mr. Effiong, we're having difficulties with your line. It's fading in and out. I don't know if you can hear me. Okay. So what I think we should do is we will maybe see if Mr. Effiong can restart his computer, and then we'll be right back. But in the meantime, Chido, some of the reports we are reading is troubling. Like they said at the hospital where victims were taken to, most of them were they needed medical attention, but there were no medical staff at the hospital. The police at the station, nearest police station, they didn't have any vehicle to get to the scene of the incident. When a state, like the Nigerian state, when a state is a failed state and it's not functioning, the impact are always felt in situations like this. Okay, Mr. Effiong. All right, can you hear me, Mr. Effiong?
Can you hear me?
Okay, good. Yeah, we can hear you. There's a little delay, but we can hear you. All right. So so I was saying while you were rebooting that the reports we're getting are disturbing in many ways. One is we saw that the report says that when they got to the hospital that there were no medical personnel there. The federal medical center in Owo, that no medical personnel to treat victims. The police could not get to the scene because they had no vehicles to get to the scene. Sometimes when we say that a state is failing or failed, the impact is felt in situations like this where you need the state to do its job, and it won't be able to do the job. Now you were saying that where are the security men, and also you mentioned. Do you think that it's possible really to protect churches, all the churches in Nigeria, from attacks like this?
I don't think the issue is whether for me the issue is about the pattern. It's about the pattern of these attacks. As I said, the little I know about the community call of war in Ondo State, because I did my youth service in Ondo State, I know that there are military checkpoints all over Ondo State. Even as you are entering the state, there are military checkpoints everywhere. So I am just wondering how these killers were able to move so freely, unchecked, unrestrained, and they got to the church, killed people, carried out this massacre, and then exited unchallenged. Nobody chased after them, nobody arrested them, nobody apprehended them, and they just went away. So this is again, as you have rightly said, evidence of state failure or state collusion. It cannot be any other thing because it is either the state has colluded with the killers, which has become a very popular belief in the country, or the state has failed. What happened to intelligence gathering? Why is it not possible to trace these people? Why is it not possible? I believe they would have come in their large numbers. That is the question. There is a pattern of killing, a pattern of mass murder, a pattern of massacre that have been happening in this country. This is equivalent to what is happening in Benue, what is happening in Katsina, what is happening all over the country. There is a pattern of mass murder that shows you that the Nigerian state is complicit in what is going on. So the question is not whether all churches in Nigeria should be protected. The question is what are they to be protected from? Because when you have terrorists invading house of God, invading people's communities and killing people in their dozens, and then there is no evidence of accountability, no evidence that the killers have been arrested, it is either the Nigerian state is complicit or the Nigerian state has failed. It is either of those options. There is no third option in this. There is no third option in this. So are they telling us that the entire security architecture of the country has been overwhelmed? That the SSS is useless? That the armed forces is useless? That the entire police structure in Ondo State is useless? That nobody was able to get intelligence of this attack? And this terrorist, their movement could not be traced, could not be tracked? And even after the attack occurred, nobody was able to do surveillance of the community surrounding where the church is, to see the bush that they would have run into, to see the tracks that they would have used to escape. It is either the state has failed or the state is colluded with the killers. I do not know of any other possibility. That is what I'm saying.
Okay, Chido, you have to unmute yourself.
Talking about the collapse of the state, it seems you can find that in every ramification. So here you're talking about intelligence, you're talking about the lack of capacity of the states to provide security. But Rudolph also talked about the other aspect. Even after things like this happen, you find out that the police on the ground is not even able to deal with the situation. The medical facilities are not enough or adequate to deal with this kind of thing. So we're looking at a much bigger problem here. But even beyond that, let's now look at, it seems in this political season, we're seeing a lot of these kinds of senseless attacks. Is there a way we can read some political meaning into all of this? What do we know?
I do not think that a set of people will be so organized, so systematic, so well funded to perpetuate this kind of evil at the scale that we are witnessing without an agenda. It is not logical. There is an agenda to what is going on. There is an agenda to the killing that we are witnessing. These attacks, these are not coincidences. These are not things that are happening accidentally. The murderers, the terrorists who invaded that Catholic church in our war today, they would have had time to plan, to get the arms that they need, to survey the environment. They would have done surveillance. They would have known exactly where they were going to, and acquired the weapon that they would need to unleash this terror. Nobody can tell me that people will come together to execute such evil, such acts, without a mission, without an intention. There is something that is going on that they are not telling us. There is an agenda to this, whether it is political, whether it is religious, whether it is ethnic. There is clear agenda. These things are not just by happenstance. These things are deliberately planned and carefully executed. It is obvious. It is systematic.
All right. So we know that we are getting reports and response and reactions from different people. Of course, we know that the governor left Abuja, where there is APC convention taking place today and tomorrow and next tomorrow, I think, to return to Ondo State and deal with this issue. We're also hearing from different people, including Professor Akintoye, who is the leader of the Yoruba Self-Determination and Self-Preservation Movement. In a statement he issued, he said that this attack on the church is a declaration of war against Yoruba people. So there will be various reactions to this, but what do you think this will play into in terms of the whole political situation in the country?
Nothing. This will not have any effect, I can assure you, because look, we have gotten to a point as a country where tragedy has become a culture, where citizens have become accustomed to tragedy. I do not believe that the killing, the massacre that took place in our war today will have any significant bearing on the election, because Nigerians themselves must also ask themselves questions, right? When will we come to a decision that we have had enough? The APC will go on, I can tell you, with their so-called convention. Even the delegates from Ondo State, they will still take part in the so-called convention, right? So this is not going to have any effect because we do not have leaders. We do not have people that really care about the country. The politicians will continue as if nothing is happening. That is the truth of the matter. We are talking about Abuja, where this convention is to take place. You would have heard in the news that barely 24 hours ago, somebody was burned to death for alleged purportedly blasphemy, committing blasphemy. You would have seen the video of people gathered. Has anyone been arrested by the police? So this madness is going on in the country, and the politicians simply do not care, partly because Nigerians have not made up their minds that they have had enough. This will not happen in a serious country without repercussions. Let us start with the police. In a war, there would likely be a divisional police station, a divisional police officer. What is his answer to what has happened? What is his explanation to what has happened? Where was he when this happened? There is a commissioner of police in Ondo State. There's a military facility in Ondo State, which I know. You would have also seen in the video that the soldiers went there after the attack has taken place. Every military facility in the country has an intelligence arm. Why were they not able to track that this attack was going to take place? And why did they not respond swiftly to this attack? And who is going to be sacked? Who is going to be punished that this attack took place? Nobody. So let us not deceive ourselves that this will have effect on the political process. Nigerians will express outrage as usual. 24 hours, 48 hours, people will move on. We have a very bad way of moving on with tragedy. You know, pretending as if nothing has happened. War has been declared on the Nigerian people, and unfortunately, we are still living in denial. As I said earlier, I am convinced that this is something that is done with an agenda. Whether it is political, religious, or ethnic, I do not know, but there is clear agenda to this. And this is the other point I want to make. This attack took place in Ondo State, a Yoruba land. And you have some aspirants in the APC who are saying that it is the turn of the Yoruba, it is the turn of the Southwest to produce the president. Bola Ahmed Tinubu is one of them. So I would want to personally see his response to the killing of the Yorubas. Because if the election is about the interests of the Southwest, the interests of the Yorubas in quotes, let us now see the position that they are going to take in response to the killing of their people. So this is the hypocrisy. What is their response? The Southwest Governors Forum, we want to hear them speak. The Southwest Caucus in the National Assembly, the Southwest leaders in the APC, let us see what their reaction is going to be. For us to now regard for us to even take them seriously, let us hear what they have to say. So the tribalism only becomes a subject of discourse when the interest of the elites is threatened. That is when they will recuse to their shell to remind us that they are Yorubas, they are Igbos, they are Ibibios, they are Hausas, they are Fulani, they are Muslims, they are Christians. But when the citizens are slaughtered, citizens are killed, and their interests are undermined, nobody talks about where the citizens come from.
All right, what we're going to do is we will get our audience to weigh in and talk to you if they have questions for you. And then we'll take a break. When we come back, we are going to talk about the primaries, which will still happen between tomorrow and today. So let me bring in somebody who is in the studio already who wants to talk, and we'll see what he has to say. Edwin, Austin, welcome. Can you please unmute yourself?
Yeah, thank you very much, Rudolph.
Okay. So we have Mr. Effiong here, and if you have a question for him, you can ask him, or if you have a comment you want to make, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think I will just begin with a comment. The Nigerian situation is a complex situation. A while ago...
Sorry, is that your background noise? Is that from you, Austin? Could you...
Hold on, please. Yeah, okay, am I clear now?
Okay,
am I okay now?
Yes.
All right. I said the Nigerian situation is a complex one that is difficult to pin down to a set of analysis. You know, a while ago I listened to Professor Patutomi, and his take was that what is happening in Nigeria is essentially a class war. A class war, that the killings and the shootings all over the place is a result of the disadvantage in Nigeria taking arm against the system. And his take also was that the ruling class seemed to be aware of this particular situation, and they are carrying on as if everything is normal. And if you listen to the gentleman that spoke now, he made again an analysis. That kind of analysis tends to suggest that there is, you know, an agenda. You know, that agenda could be religious, that agenda could be ethnic. And now you see that killings are taking place everywhere in this country. In the southeast, we hear about the unknown gunmen. What is the aim for those killings? Now, in the north, generally, there is killing. And most of those who die as a result of these killings are also mostly people from the north. Majority of them are Muslims. And then if you want to pin this down to religion, how do you separate all of these issues? So I think we actually need to take a more holistic view about these things, so that in analyzing the situation, I wrote an article once which I call the familiar spirits of our nation, so that we are not taken in by the thinking that by the familiar spirits, because this ruling class, as it were, could also be playing people against each other, you know, playing the masses against each other to make it seem, this is what is happening, this is what is happening. I will give a simple example. Before now, we had this thinking when, people of the PDP extraction, we mostly term the APC as a Fulani party, and that the APC has an agenda to Islamize the nation and all that. I remember mentioning back then to some people that when the election comes and a Muslim is picked by the North from the PDP, all the cries about Islamization will come to an end, coming from the PDP axis, and that's exactly what has happened. Look at the South governors.
Okay. Austin, I have to stop you, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, because we have to get back to the original conversation we want to have today, but we appreciate your time. Effiong, let me ask you, do you think there is any particular reason why Ondo is the target? Does that have anything to do with the activism of the governor, especially when it comes to the issue of Nigeria and the rights of states and other things?
It is difficult to say why Ondo is a target, because really there is hardly any part of the country that has not been targeted. I do not know whether this has anything to do with the position of the governor on some of the thorny issues, open grazing and the likes. I do not know whether there is a correlation. But what I believe is that there is an agenda. I want to reiterate that there is an agenda to what is going on. It just doesn't make sense to me as a person that group of persons would come together, organize themselves, acquire arms. These arms are not cheap. These arms are very expensive. Acquire arms, mobilize themselves to a particular place, set out a date, identify a target, and carry out the attack and kill people just for the sake of killing them, or just for the sake of committing murder. There has to be something that is driving this senseless killing. There has to be a motivation. There has to be something that is influencing these actions. There has to be something that they are falling back on, giving them the boldness to do what they are doing.
All right.
I don't know what it is, but they are motivated by something.
Yeah. Let's hear from two more people, then we'll go to the next topic. Peter, welcome to the show.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone.
Yeah,
Mr. Effiong, good evening. First and foremost, I need to congratulate you for the victory of for the AAC party. I think day before yesterday, we watched it. I saw the victory over there. So I must congratulate you and the party for the effort, the way you follow up the case. I must recommend you. Thank you very much. My question is this. Thank you. My question is this. You can see that last year, I think last 2 years, 2019, Sowore, he contested under the platform of AAC, which is the national, is the party chairman, whatever. So, of which it was defeated woefully, I think 33,000, whatever. Now, we are now in 2022. In 2022, now we have so many presidential candidates. Of which Sowore, I normally listen to Sowore, is a very vibrant, somebody, is very intelligent, bold, and all. But if you come back to think of it, AAC doesn't have what they call structure, to win an election in that country. Then they don't have structure, the party don't have structure, they don't have financial aspect to finance the race, and of which it declared. Then when you come to Peter Obi, Peter Obi was in PDP before everybody. We knew how he defected to a Labour Party. Even the Labour Party he defected to. I think I was watching Dele Momodu. Dele Momodu said that in 2012, something like that, if I not made a mistake, that's something to be corrected, that he contested under that party, which is Labour Party, that when he contested in that party, they don't have what they call structure. He spent 10 million naira to build structure in that party. So if I may ask you, who do you think that we, the masses, should back up in this 2023 election? Do we still have a chance or a preferred candidate for we to support? Because I'm not in Nigeria, we are here in Europe. You understand me? Every day we saw what is going on in that country. So we don't know who and who to support. I guess Atiku and Atiku with Tinubu.
Peter, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. All right. Mr. Effiong, please, can you answer the question? Thank you so much, Peter. Go ahead.
Do you want me to respond to the question?
Yes, please. Yeah, please. Yeah.
Yes, I got his question. I got his question clearly.
Okay.
I am not a spokesperson to Mr. Showore. I am the legal advisor of the AAC. But what I can tell you is that a political party exists for several reasons. Contesting election is one of them, is the primary objective of a political party. But there are other reasons why a political party exists, one of which is to offer constructive and strategical position to the government in power. In the last 7 years, you will agree with me that PDP has not been a serious opposition party. They have basically not opposed the APC. They have basically not done any serious work to checkmate the excesses of the ruling party. Right? Showore, for me, has done a lot. He's still doing a lot as an individual and somebody that leads a movement of young people to also checkmate the excesses of the Buhari regime. Now, 2023, what is the option for the masses? What is the option for the people? My position is that Nigerians will have to individually and collectively decide the direction that they want to go as a people. If we are contented with the status quo, with the way things are at the moment, and when I say the way things are, I mean the way the PDP, APC, the way these two parties have led this country, the way they are leading this country at the moment, then we will also allow them to continue. But if we are dissatisfied, if we are grieved, look at the killing that we are talking about, right? If we are grieved with what is going on, we have to try something else. And I like to also be very a bit critical when people speak about, some parties have structures and others don't. The question I always ask is, what is the structure? The structure is people, human beings. Because with all the structure that the APC and the PDP claim to have, we see that they cannot really win election. They cannot have electoral advantage, but for the money, the huge monetary resources that they are devoting into their campaigns, which for all intents and purposes, it is not their personal money. It is Nigerian money that people are siphoning and using to pursue their personal and partisan objectives. So I find it very difficult sometimes to really see what the structure is. I am not underrating the fact that a political party needs to have leaders across the wards, across the local government, may need to have party offices. I appreciate that. But the real structure is human beings. It is people. So my verdict as a Nigerian is that 2023 election should offer us an opportunity to choose a political party and candidates other than the two parties that have clearly shown us that they have nothing to offer. Because what is the argument of PDP? Why is PDP presenting Atiku Abubakar? They brought Atiku Abubakar not because is the most credible candidate, not because he's the most credible person that they could offer, but because they are hoping to capitalize on ethno-religious sentiment. They are hoping that because Atiko is a Northerner, right, is that because he's a Muslim, that the critical mass of the voting bloc in the north will vote for him. So I do not think a party that really wants to change the country should be seeking power based on that faulty foundation. That is the argument in favor of Atiku. That is why they gave him the ticket. It is not because he's better than others who sought the ticket. And the same thing applies for the APC. When they choose their candidate eventually, we will also ask ourselves what criteria they use. So I have a problem with us keep doing the same thing every election cycle and hoping to have a different result.
All right. Thank you so much. One more, Chido, I don't know what you want to do, but I think one more. Let me get one more from Ovie, and then we change the topic and talk about the Ovie. Go ahead. Question.
Good morning from Atlanta. I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, Ovie, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Can you guys hear me now? I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, Ovie, we can hear you. Go ahead. All right. Okay, Ovie, we have to call back. Okay. Fido, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Barrister Effiong. I think it was just the right moment to segue into the whole question of the two major political parties. PDP has had its primary. Tomorrow and next, we will see the outcome of the APC primary. A lot of intrigue, a lot of horse trading, and the whole country is being put on tenterhooks because we don't know what is happening. They are not following even their own rules that they set. They are shifting the goalposts. What's your assessment before we even come to the candidates? What's your assessment of the situation in terms of the preparation of the party to conduct a proper primary that would meet the requirements of the Independent National Electoral Commission?
Please, can you repeat the question?
So I'm saying, looking at the APC's primary tomorrow and next, there are two things we could talk about. We could talk about the candidates, but we could also talk about the preparation for the election. We know that there has been a lot of horse trading as well as intrigues. The party is not playing to even keeping to the tenets of whatever it proposes to believe in. This is not the way democracy. One moment the president comes out and says, "Give me the power to determine who would succeed me," and so on. What do we know, and what are the implications? As I said, we are not looking at the candidate. We'll talk about the candidates later. But in terms of the plans of the party in meeting what the guidelines and rules of conduct of proper election and primaries, what do we know, and what are the implications of what APC is doing properly or not doing properly?
The important thing is that under the law, Section 84 of the Electoral Act, a political party that wishes to nominate candidates for election must do any of the following: conduct a primary through, choose their candidate through direct primary, choose their candidate through indirect primary, or through consensus. So these are the three options that the APC has. They will either have to go through a direct primary, which by Section 84 of the Electoral Act is a primary election by delegate, a delegate election, where delegates will vote for the aspirant and someone will then emerge the presidential candidate. Or consensus. That is where one person is choosing among all the aspirants. But the law requires that for there to be consensus, all the participants must withdraw and consent to that consensus in writing. They have to withdraw in writing. I'm not sure that is practicable at this point. So it does appear that the most likely option for the APC is indirect primary. Of course, that means that the delegates from the 36 states and the FCT will have to converge in Abuja and vote and choose the candidate of the party. Already there are conflicts in some states about the delegate list. There is also uncertainty on the direction the party leadership, led by President Buhari, will take. It is not clear at this time whether Buhari will expressly endorse or anoint an aspirant. What is obvious is that they have a limited time to say or choose and determine who their candidate would be. So for me, it is just a question of let's wait and see, because as I said, there is no clarity on the direction that the APC is going to take at the moment.
Chido, meet yourself.
We can look at the candidates, and now that again it seems that the governors in the northern part of the country and the president himself have seeded the candidacy of the party, the presidential candidate of the party to the southern part of the country. Politically, what are the implications? As somebody who is watching, who is a watch of the political situation in the country, how does this play out in the geopolity of Nigeria? So you can talk about individuals and their chances and so on.
Well, zoning itself is not unconstitutional, because under Section 14 of the Constitution, federal character is enshrined, the principle of federal character. And for me, I've always said zoning is essentially an offshoot of federal character, because what is federal character? Federal character is a system of inclusion where all parts of the country are to be given a sense of belonging, to be given an opportunity to take part in the government of the country. So that is what zoning is about. And because now the leaders of the governors of the APC from the north have come up with this resolution, it does appear that their option is now circumscribed to the aspirant from the south. Again, there is so much complexity on who these preferred aspirants would be. Tinubu is, of course, the big contender for the position of candidate, but there are things that would work against him. One of which is the question of who his vice president is going to be. I mean, Tinubu is a Muslim from the southwest. He has to naturally, or is expected to naturally, choose a running mate from the north. And I do not know whether the political establishment in the north is ready to have a northern vice president who is not a Muslim. That is one too. But people will say, oh, Muslim ticket doesn't matter. Yes, it's not supposed to matter ordinarily, but this is Nigeria. So if Muslim ticket is something that people want to push, the question is, will they also be amenable to Christian tickets? That is the question. And because that is not likely to happen in a political climate, those who are dismissing or saying that his aspiration cannot succeed on that basis, they have a point. You also have Osibanjo, right? And let me even say that the comment of Tinubu some short time ago had also gone a long way to redefine the politics within the APC, because it does appear that these comments he made deprecating the president and the Ogun State governor did not come out quite well. And that explains why he's now offering apology. He's trying to give explanation on something that did not need any explanation. That is why we can see Governor Kashim Shetima, former governor of Borno State, also apologizing for his deprecatory remarks against the vice president and the Senate president. Now, Sibanjo, on the other hand, I personally do not think that he enjoys the confidence of Buhari. Come of it, the president has been truncating, traveling all over the globe. Even when he goes on medical vacation, how many times has he transmitted power to the vice president? How many times? How many times? Because if you really trust your vice to the extent of wanting to hand over to him, that should be clear, that should be obvious during your tenure. People should look at how you have taken him into confidence, how you have entrusted key responsibilities on him to be able to draw the inference that you're going to support him. There is also the Amechi issue, you know. How will you now? Rivers is a very important voting bloc. But I do make the point that PDP has lost significant goodwill from what is supposed to be ordinarily their strong base. So you will now have the APC possibly take advantage of that. So Amechi is also another strong contender. But again, I'm not sure that the Buhari cabal and the Buhari himself would want an Amechi president. There is also Governor Fayemi, who is also on his own right a serious contender, or one of those assumed to be serious contenders. So at this point, it's really, really a bit difficult to say. I don't expect much surprises. With the way it is going, I we may just have to prepare our minds for whatever the outcome is going to be. But whoever they chooses, I am just hoping that it's going to be the best that they have to offer.
All right. I know that this is as of last night, where the story is. We are at the point where we had the president saying to the southern candidates to go home and come back with one candidate. And those
Mhm.
from the southwest, they met and they were not able to come up with a candidate. I have not had anything from those from the south and those from the southeast. Now, what do you think is going to happen eventually with the candidates from the Southwest who met and could not come up with one candidate? Because that will be a determining factor in terms of what happens tomorrow and next.
Well, as I said, under the law, there are three modes, three means of choosing candidates: direct primary, indirect primary, or consensus. And I explained that at this time, direct primary is not visible because that involves voting by all members of the party across the country. But indirect primary is voting by delegates. And then you have consensus, which in the law says for there to be consensus, all the aspirants must have to withdraw in writing. I don't know whether any of them is willing to do that. So now, for President Buhari, I think he owes Nigerians an explanation. He owes Nigerians answers to some very important questions that they want to ask. Now, is the APC going to give the ticket to the South or to the Southwest? It is not so clear because my position is that you cannot be arguing for federal character, for quota system, and so on, and then you don't want to discuss the issue of inclusive governance. So whether they would want to now concede, right? Whether the APC is willing to concede that the issue of zoning will have bearing, which will now determine which candidates will benefit from it. Because if, for example, that one is ruled out of the race as a sitting Senate president, and all the northern aspirants are also ruled out, I think Governor Badaru has already withdrawn. That clearly will narrow this to the south. But my problem with the argument about zoning is that one cannot say in one brain that he or she supports zoning, that power has to shift to the south in 2023, and then within the same south, one is not willing to affirm that they should go to the southeast, the region that has never produced a president. So this is called the contradiction that I'm talking about. But let us not be surprised if at the end of the day, Buhari now picks somebody from among the large pool of aspirants who we consider to be not very effective in communication or not very does not have a much presence and so on. May just be Buhari. He may just look at the name and just pick one and tell the wife, talk to this person, or tell his kitchen cabinet, oh, this is who I want. But does this president have the means to really impose his will on the APC? It is debatable. It is debatable. Like we have seen in other matters, this president is not firm, he's not forthright, he's not disciplined, he doesn't keep to his words. So the governors are aware of all this. They have probably consented to everything that is going on. And that is why we must also continue to intensify pressure on them so that if the worst get to the worst, let them choose the best among the worst for us. So that Nigerians will assess the person assess the party, and determine who to vote for. That's my
Uh,
position.
okay, thank you very much, Inibehe. Looking at the going forward again, the in terms of these candidates and the implication of who emerges. Some people have said that APC is a party without soul, in the sense that it's just it's not up to 10 years old, and there are serious cracks in the party. People think that the party would not outlive the current president. Is there a
Well,
sense in which we see the implosion of APC depending on who emerges as the candidate of the party?
yeah, it is a possibility, but the question we have to ask ourselves is who will that aspirant be that will be willing to lead the implosion? Because implosion has to take place when people, a group of persons or some person is willing and able to cause that to happen. And that today I do not know which among these many aspirants, dozens of aspirants, is willing to even stake their personal or business interest. Because what we are saying is that the moment a governor or somebody within the party stands up and takes a position against the what the cabal wants, it's as good as gone. I'm telling you, it's as good as gone. So let them stop this nonsense that once somebody uh, 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 you know, says I want to be president, that person should not offer explanation to Nigerians. That person should not tell Nigerians why he wants to be president. If there's going to be an explosion within the party, I think it is in the interest of Nigerians, because I personally have said that for Nigeria to move forward as a country, these two political parties must either die or be killed by Nigerians, because it is clear to some of us that nothing radical, nothing significant is going to change. We are talking about a party that in the last 7 years has not been able to offer leadership. Look at the killing that took place, that is taking place all over the country. As a political party, what have they done? So if an implosion is going to arise from their primaries, that is not going to be to the disadvantage of Nigeria. But politically speaking, Tinubu has so much at stake, so much investment. Will he, if they deny him the ticket, will he want to fight? I do not think he is going to fight. I do not think he's going to fight. Is it Osibanjo? Is it Osibanjo? Does Osibanjo have the strength of his own? But Osibanjo's emergence is largely dependent on his endorsement by Buhari, if Buhari endorses him. So Osibanjo is not a fighter to begin with. I don't see him as somebody who would want to fight Deti if they deny him the ticket. You see Fayemi, right? Is it Dave Umahi? Who exactly? Is it Gosila, the joker from my state, Akpabio, Gosila Akpabio, that is going to lead the implosion? So if my expectation is that at the end of the day, depending on who emerges, many of these aspirants that are making noise, they will just, harmonize their interests with whoever emerges and hope to have a stake in the next government if that person wins. I do not believe that any of these aspirants is going to put up any serious fight, against the whoever emerges. I don't see that happening because, as I said, many of them have a lot at stake. Many of them have skeletons in their cupboards. They cannot fight. They cannot fight. Ben Ayade, is it Ben Ayade? Who is going to lead the implosion? Is it Godswill Akpabio? You mentioned the name to me. Is it Nwajubia, the Minister of State for Education, that went to buy form when our universities are on strike? Who is going to lead the implosion? The only threat to the APC at this time is Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because he seems to have the largest war chest. And you would have, inferred from the comments he made that he's willing to fight. But is Bola Ahmed Tinubu willing to risk what he had at stake? Is he willing to risk his control of Lagos State? Is he willing to risk his economic investment to fight whoever Buhari chooses if Buhari does not choose him? That is the question. So already, what will now happen? The timeline of INEC, which party will they come to have any relative advantage at this time? Which party? It is also possible that somebody may emerge and the Buhari cabal may work against that person in the general election. That is a different conversation entirely. But at this time, I do not see any of these aspirants having the political will, the political strength to put up a disruptive action against the outcome of the primaries. I don't see that happening.
All right, we're almost an hour into the show and we have 30 minutes. We are very soon going to bring in our audience to be part of this conversation. But I want to bring your attention to something Buhari said to the party, the kind of candidate he's looking for. Somebody formidable that will appeal to the electorate across the board and should command such an ability to unify the country and the capacity to address our critical challenges. And this is something that Buhari could not do, and that's what he expects from somebody who will take over from him. Do you see anybody in on these candidates, the list of candidates we know that could fulfill this role?
Well, first and foremost, I believe that speech was written for Buhari to read out. I don't believe Buhari has what it takes to say some of these things. I mean, with all sense of responsibility. The man is clearly incompetent. In the last 7 years, he has shown us beyond reasonable doubt that he is not in control of his government. This is a president who told his cabinet members, if you have an ambition to run for president, resign before Monday, right? And then he even held a meeting, a Sanford party sort of, for them. And within 24, 48 hours, we heard that Malami was no longer resigning. We heard that Minister of Labour, Ngigi, was no longer resigning. We heard that people were no longer aspiring. They had withdrawn, they want to remain in their position. They had rescinded their resignation. Is that a president that has control over his government? I don't think we should take Buhari too seriously on this matter. Because already, I believe the real power stake is the governors. And if you look at the way the governors are going about it, it is the governors who control the delegates. Because I have told you, they have three options. They have consensus, which at this time, it does appear is not going to work. Tinubu is against consensus. You would have heard what John Oyegun said. I believe he was referring to Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Now, so if you're asking me who is this person that fits into what Buhari is looking, I don't even believe that Buhari is looking for a competent successor to begin with. I don't believe that. For 7 years, how many competent people have he appointed into his cabinet? For us to now assume that Buhari will be interested in having somebody that has the competence to succeed him. A president that has an unparalleled affinity, an unparalleled love for incompetent people cannot just suddenly turn overnight and be talking about a competent successor or somebody that will be able to deliver. But if you are to speak about general acceptability, it appears to me that among the pool of aspirants that they have, in terms of general acceptability, it looks like Osinbajo is more receptive. At least we can look at the time, the brief moment that he was acting president. There was some semblance of governance presence, right? We saw how he tried to do some reflex action during the SARS. We saw how he fired the DG, Director General of the SSS, Daura. We saw some of the measures he took when Buhari gave him power as acting president. And that didn't happen anymore. Buhari had been going on vacation. He had not been handing over. Right? I had to even take the president to court on that. So I tell people that I do not see how Buhari will want to entrust power to Osinbajo that to take over from him to succeed him when he has found it very difficult to entrust power to this same Osinbajo when he's leaving the country. Does Tinubu have general acceptability? I do not think so. Yes, he has some form of level of popularity in the Southwest, but you must also look at the statistics. In the last election, right, how well did the APC fare in the Southwest? If you take out Lagos and Osun, which other state in the Southwest can you categorically say Tinubu controls? He certainly does not control Osun. Sorry, Ekiti. Certainly does not control Ondo, right? Which Southwest state apart from Osun and Lagos? Even though Osun now, the Arabesola faction, I don't know how much they are in sync with Tinubu's ambition. So those characteristics, those things that Buhari spoke to, I do not know who meets that criteria. I believe Buhari was just, engaging in political semantics. The truth of the matter is that he has a candidate, or somebody would want to image as a candidate. We do not know at this time. Maybe it will be revealed tonight because time is running out. Who exactly he wants. By the time Nigerians see this person, we will know whether that person meets his so-called criteria or not.
Thank you very much. Before we bring in the audience, we don't have much time. Let's also look at, you've talked about the need the for us to see the demise of the APC and PDP, and then for the country to move forward. People are talking about Labour Party now. What's your own assessment of a possible third force that just lose coalition or lose smaller parties, the AAC, Showore's party, Kingsley Moalu, and now Labour Party is getting to traction. How do you think we can, between now and the election, that Nigerians can build a third force or a new party that can successfully challenge the behemoths, APC and PDP? Is it even possible?
What? Let me start with Shore and AAC. Like one of the participants said, I just successfully got the Court of Appeal to set aside the judgment of the Federal High Court that basically took the leadership of the AAC from Shore. I have been fighting that case in court since 2019. We just got victory from the appeal court, and we are hoping that by that INEC will respect the judgment and that Showore will even be allowed to participate in the election. So within the AAC, there were issues, and again, the crisis in the AAC, many Nigerians do not know the issue that the AAC have in terms of leadership is because of PDP and APC. They infiltrated the AAC when in 2019, recall that APC was back from participating in, some people don't know this history, from participating in the Rivers election. APC did not take part at all. You know, the Manuzabe and the Amechi fight that made APC to be excluded. That was how Amechi endorsed our candidate, the AAC candidate in Rivers State, Awara, right? Who basically now ran the APC mandate in Rivers State. And then Wike now decided to, seems to have sponsored some elements within the AAC to hijack the party. So they now sponsor this, impostor called Yona Nzenwa, who just sat down in the comfort of his room and claimed that Showore was suspended by the National Executive Committee of the party for 6 months, took over the party, went to court and got a judgment that has now been declared a nullity by the Court of Appeal. And the first thing he did, he went to the Rivers State Governorship Election Tribunal and debriefed the lawyer that was representing the AAC candidate, Awara, and then frustrated the petition that was filed against Wike's election. That is the genesis of the crisis in the AAC. So you can even see the influence that these two Sesame twins, twins, APC and PDP, you can see the influence that they are even having on the younger parties. Now go to the Labour Party. For me, Peter Obi's defection from the PDP is a positive development. It is good for our democracy. I find it very irritating, very, very irritating that a so-called opposition party will throw somebody like Peter Obi under the bus. But who should be surprised? Nobody that is a follower or a participant of the political process in Nigeria should be surprised, because PDP simply does not believe in good governance. PDP does not believe in a functional Nigeria. PDP does not believe in a Nigeria that works. All that you need to do, forget about Abuja, the presidency. Look at their governors. What are they doing differently? Look at their members in the National Assembly in the last 7 years. What good that Peter Obi has defected to the Labour Party. Does he have the muscle to win the election? That is for Nigerians to determine, because the critical mass, what Peter Obi is building is not really a political party per se. It is a political movement. Labour Party is just a platform that is being used to drive that movement. And he has organic support. You cannot take that away from him. So it will be a good thing. Kingsley Moghalu has also done his bit. He has been, going around, campaigning. Whether they will be able to come together to build what is called a third force, or what people call a third force, I do not know. In 2019, that did not succeed, largely because many of the so-called third force candidates were actually elements sponsored by either the PDP or the APC. And you can see what has happened. Some of them have gone back to their natural base. They have gone back to where they came from. So it is important for Nigerians to have an alternative to APC and PDP, because this idea that the destiny of Nigeria is either the devil or the deep blue sea, we have to bury that idea. We must try something totally different, something that is. And again, at this time, if you look at the way the economy is, the country is trapped in debt. Inflation has taken over. Nothing is working. Naira is almost useless. It's almost 600 naira to $1 today.
All right. We're having internet connection with our guest, Mr. Effiong. Let me bring in some of our audience members who are in the studio. If you want to come on, please turn on your camera so that we know you want to come on. I'll bring you in. We give everybody 30 seconds to ask a question or make a comment, as much as possible. Okay. So please, when you come on, make sure you are. All right. While we wait for Mr. Effiong to reconnect with us, welcome to the show. Ike, how are you?
I'm good.
Ike, can you hear me? Okay, welcome to the show.
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, what is your question or comment?
Well, first of all, it's my pleasure, Dr. Damage, for me to be part of this platform. It's my first time. And as a Nigerian, as a concerned Nigerian, I've been following the politics of Nigeria for so many years. Even before I left Nigeria to where I am today by the grace of God. It is even so my rest yesterday I tried to come in when the issue of Tinubu and the rest was being discussed, but it was not possible for me to come in yesterday. But I just want out Nigerian today to face the facts. The PDP and the APC, we cannot continue to, recycle these old, outdated politicians in Nigeria every time. Sorry?
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear you?
Yeah,
okay.
we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, what I'm saying is that, it's time that we stop this. Okay. What I'm saying that it's time we stop this recycling of these old, outdated, politicians we have in Nigeria. It is time that we stop this idea of, these, criminals and, these idiots trying to build future politics in Nigeria for us as the younger generations of Nigeria. Because a foundation that is founded on a sinking sand will always sink. It doesn't matter how you paint that building. It doesn't matter how you try to make that building look. As long as the foundation of that building is not built on a solid rock, it's going to collapse. And Nigeria is in a place now that we should stop building anything under this false foundation, because this APC and PDP is the same people. It's the same group of people. They belong, they do the same thing together. They are afraid.
Thank you. Thank
So,
you. Thank you, Ike.
my own opinion in this issue, my brothers, is okay.
Yeah, finish up, Ike. Finish up. I know. I know there's a delay between us. Finish up your last line.
Okay. Okay. So, what I'm trying to say is that by the grace of God, God has given us a platform on P2B. What P2B did, a lot of people in Nigeria do not understand and recognize the power of what P2B did. And I am telling you that if Nigerians should forget about sentiment of where you come from, or I'm a Yoruba man, I'm an Hausa man, he's my brother, he's my cousin, he was my business partner, he was my colleague in the university or whatever. If Nigerians can rally around the P2B and this Labour Party, I am telling you that to rescue the power from APC and PDP is very easy. People say they rig election, yes. But listen, it is the people that will tell you that you cannot rig election.
Okay, thank you, Ike. Thank you, Ike. We have to leave it at that. Mr. Effiong, thank you so much for joining us back. Let's take two more questions or comments, and then you can address them. Ovie, welcome to the show. Can you unmute yourself, Ovie? All right. You have a question for Mr. Effiong, please.
It's crazy. I'm using two devices. Yeah, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I beg up and turn it to order. It's connected. Okay. I mean, it's going up and on, but if I should ask question on what I heard so far.
Yeah. Just
I heard the guys talking about how PDP failed to be how PDP failed to be a strong opposition. Are you in any way suggesting that is what Sowore is fighting to become, to be an opposition to people in power?
All right. Thank you so much. Mr. Effiong, let me get two more, then you can respond. Austin, go ahead. Austin, can you ask your question?
Yeah, okay, Rudolph.
Yeah.
I think from what has been discussed here so far, I don't know, I think I should just make a general comment.
Okay, just make it short, please. Yeah, please, very short, because we're running out of time.
Okay, what I feel now is that the people should rise up and take on the two major political parties now. And there is also the need for every other person, every other party to unite and go on the fight with the Labour Party as it stands, and also to consider the fact of equity that have been mentioned here. If there's zoning as an inclusive instrument, then the presidency should come from the Southeast, and Mr. Peter Obi is eminently qualified, and all of us will come behind him at this point in time.
All right. So, Mr. Effiong, you can answer the questions, and we'll get back to the others that are interested in talking to you, or respond to the comments.
No, Sowore is not trying to become a formidable opposition. Sowore has always been a formidable opposition. And I said that not because I'm one of his lawyers. I said that because I know little about his history. Go and check where he has been from 1993. In fact, even before the June 12 struggle. From his days, in the last 30 years, from his days as a student union president, he has always been on the side of the people. But one thing I do agree that Sowore has a problem of perception. And I've told him that as a friend, I've told him that personally. But it is not a problem that he created. It is a problem that the ruling class have created. Because if somebody is consistently against every government that is in power, PDP members are accusing him of working for APC. APC members are accusing him of working for PDP. Then he shows that he's doing the right thing. I do believe in his struggle because, I mean, I said that as somebody who is close to him. I said that as somebody who knows the countless times that offers have been made to compromise him, and he has never compromised. So I believe in what he's doing, and I believe that Nigerians should identify with any credible person that is challenging the government, any credible person that is trying to hold power accountable. That is the truth of the matter. So I have made my position on Peter Obi known. I have said it is a good development for democracy, because this whole PDP APC thing, it is an irritation. And Nigerians should be so irritated to the point that they don't want to hear those parties again. Because what are they offering? What is their position? What are they bringing to the table? What are they going to do differently? What will they do differently?
All right.
It's as simple as that.
Okay. All right. Let's go to Alaro. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, my leaders. I call you my leaders because this is what we need. We don't need the politicians sitting in Abuja to lead us. All of you, my brothers, are the leaders we need. So I'm going to make it short. Number one, Mr. Effiong, thank you very much. Structure is extremely important. But like you said, who are the structures? The people are the structures. So this is the structure. But now we are more empowered to use the structure more than ever before through social media. So financial resources is no longer a limitation. Through social media, we can use the structure. That means we can get to the people because the people are the structure. So we have to get to the people on their roots from the local council and build up. Sorry, and Mr. Peter Obi, both of them can implement themselves by implementing the structure through social media. This is absolutely possible. We don't have those limitations like before. This can be different, but it depends on how they mobilize and are organized. We have enough time, even for this election. Mobilization and organization is extremely, extremely important. And like you said also, I'm 100% sure the president does not want a competent successor. No way. He needs an incompetent fool that will cover up all the nonsense he has done all these years. That's number one. And my last point being, Tinubu, the former governor, will never, ever, ever support anybody else. It is not him. This man has worked his whole life, has paid a serious price, has invested in the APC to move forward. He will never. If they don't choose him, 100%, it will destroy APC. And it could be the best thing that's ever happened to any one of us. Everything we are talking about, this is the best thing that could happen. If he decides to diverse his power, he has his structure. If he pushes it towards Peter Obi, if he pushes it towards so that's the end. This man has the means to make and break anybody. He has this structure. We cannot, we have to be honest with ourselves. Don't let's on that. This man has been doing this all this year. He's not wasting his time. He knows what he has. For him
Thank
to
you.
talk like that, he knows
Thank
what
you, Alaro.
So
let's hear from the last two people. We have just 5 minutes to go so that we can get the final words from our guests. Is there Ejikeme?
Ejikeme. Yeah, Ejikeme, go ahead.
Okay, I've just switched on my microphone. Okay. Thank you, Rudolph. Thank you, Chido. Thank you, Inibehe Effiong. I'm quite privileged to be in the midst of such eminent people. Especially, no disrespect to Rudolph, Inibehe Effiong. This is a man I've followed for a while, and I have great respect for you. I'm quite grateful to be in your midst. You made a comment earlier about Peter Obi, and I want to get your comments on his choice for a VP candidate, which is very critical. We know the sensibilities of Nigeria. Obviously, he's going to be looking for someone from the north. and also a Muslim as well. There's been rumors about Sanusi being considered. We know his antecedents, but that being said, being pragmatic, do you think that would be a good pick, considering the fact that you need Kano State to divvy up Kwokwanso's votes, and also to get a huge, because Sanusi is still very popular. If he comes into the race really wanting to run with Peter Obi and goes the whole hog with him, do you think he will be a good pick?
All right,
All
thank
right,
you.
thank you.
Let's take one more, and then that will be it. Abi, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Dr. Damages. I just have two things. The first thing is I want to see Chido smile for once. And the second one is that I want to again appreciate Barrister Effiong for what he's been doing. I've been following this man since when he was much skinnier than this. He's been a very, very, very formidable force, and I really respect you. We Nigerians usually is after you die they'll now write the epitome, or I don't know what they write. Many of us really appreciate what you're doing. You have fought so many very difficult fights, and you have always been on the side of the people, even when it sounds very unpopular. And again, for your analysis today, I totally support, and I respect you more for being objective with our man, which you and which I also very much support, Showore, but we know what are the truths about acceptance and all that. And that will come with time. Uh, Other than that, I leave this today to another very interesting topic from the coverings of Dr. Damages. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Abi. I'll keep smiling now that I know you're watching. Our special guest, Barrister Inibehe Effiong, you have just 1 minute to, give us an overview of your thoughts and the last questions asked. We need to wrap up in 2 minutes. Over
Let
to
me
you,
start from
sir.
the last. Let me start from the last question. There is no doubt about the fact that Peter Obi will have to, pick somebody who has some political influence up north. You know, a Muslim, obviously, a male Muslim for that matter. You understand what the issues are over there. So, who is going to choose? I cannot say. Will Sanusi be a formidable choice? I think it depends because one, even though he has uh, some level of appeal within the North, Kano, and so on, but you also know that in terms of partisan politics, uh, he hasn't really, been very active of late. But that is not to say that he's not a potential good pick. I don't know whether Peter Obi would want to consider him. I think we just have to give Peter Obi the benefit of doubt and see who is going to pick. But ultimately, the choice is for the Nigerian people. And I've asked this question: have Nigerians suffered enough? And that takes me to my closing remark. Have we suffered enough as a people? Because when we have suffered enough, nobody will be talking about structure. People will revolt on their own. They will not need any politician to come and tell them that things should be done differently. And of course, we started with the killings in Ondo today. What it is a tragedy. It is evil. It is condemnable. We can only hope that those who are committing such atrocity and their sponsors will be brought to justice. And on the whole, I am ending by saying that I hope that in 2023, Nigerians will vote differently. Nigerians will see the need to go for somebody that offers a new lease of life, some refreshment, some modicum of hope. Because we are at a time that hope is almost non-existent in the country. Let us try somebody else, someone that will be able to speak the language of the common people. That is all I can say. And thank you for the invitation. And thank you for all of you for being part of this program. And thank you for
Thank,
the very kind words too.
thank you very much, Barrister Neb, for being part of this. Our thoughts and prayers are had go out to fellow citizens who died in this dastardly act today. Our hearts, our thoughts, and prayers go to the family members, their loved ones. We continue to engage as citizens. We continue to put pressure on the state, and hopefully that in the coming days and weeks and months that our country will be a safer place for all of us. Thank you all for being part of this conversation today. We look forward to having you next week. Follow us on our social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram, Dr. Damages and 90 Minutes Africa. Thank you so much, and see you again next week.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.